Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll be recapping the NFL's Week 9, which had featured a lot of upsets and unpredictable games, including us with our new low for our locks of the week, and the Chiefs not performing very well. Uh, we also will talk about the World Series that was just completed over the weekend, and we'll be previewing the NFL's Week 10 and providing some new locks of the week that maybe no one should be listening to. But we'll
Yeah.
we'll begin today's show with the Chiefs dropping a game, their fourth game of the season now, this week at Buffalo, their final appearance at the stadium there in Buffalo, Highmark.
Hi, Mark.
Um,
Good.
Mike, the Chiefs didn't look all that great this time. Are you concerned about how the team performed this week, and then in looking forward, or do you think this is more of the Chiefs don't really want to show anything to Buffalo in the regular season, so we shouldn't worry about the outcome of that game?
I'm kind of in between. I think that the Chiefs didn't look very good, really. They only lost by a touchdown, so they had a little bit of a chance to come back after that missed Buffalo field goal at the end that knocked up went off the upright. But if this were the Chiefs' second or third loss of the year, I'd feel a lot better than 5-4 right now, since now they're on the outside looking in of the playoff hunt, and they're behind. And the team that are directly behind is Jacksonville, and Jacksonville already has the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are losing, and one of the other possible wild card teams is right now the Buffalo Bills, who are also have a tiebreaker over the Chiefs, as do the LA Chargers right now. The Chiefs have lost some costly games already, so they really need to come back on the second half of the season. And I don't know if they need to win out, but they need to, you know, only lose a game or two here or there to get a solid seed in the playoffs. And I don't know, you wonder if the division is out of reach at this point. The way Denver's been playing, you wonder, have there been too many losses already? And that's what I'm more worried about. Just the record. The team I think has looked good in a lot of games this year.
Hmm.
They didn't play well against Buffalo, but that seems to always happen in the regular season. They lose to Buffalo in the regular season, and then they play them in the playoffs and they win. But you can't count on that every year. But Buffalo's a tough place to go into and play. So losing in Buffalo is, I
Yeah.
don't think it's a huge deal. But um, Mahomes didn't look so great, but he was hassled and harried all night long. Um, the
Yeah,
line didn't
they
look
dealt
so
with some
good.
injuries on the offensive line that they hadn't really had to deal with too much this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, it looked almost like the Super Bowl kind of offensive line, the way it was letting Bosa and other guys get through. Um, so it seems like Josh Simmons is back now. He's going to maybe play next week after his extended personal leave time. Did they ever explain why he was out? Has that been
I haven't heard anything.
just?
Hadn't even heard that he was planning on being back for the next game, so
I think.
that was
Well, I
news to
think
me. But
I think he's back in the building now. I think I saw that somewhere.
well, that's I mean that's a really good sign. Because yeah, being stretched pretty thin there with what they had like two additional injuries this week on top of his absence. So
Hmm.
and yeah, how serious are the injuries then to the other players that missed some time during the game?
Yeah, it's hard to know. I don't know
Yeah,
how bad they are. At least they have the bye week now. This is a good time for the bye week, probably. Uh,
uh,
so give the Chiefs a week off. Then they come back against Denver in week 11. Then they think they play the Colts in week 12. So they have two big games coming up after the bye week. Then I think the schedule gets a little bit easier. But it's still not an easy schedule on the way out either. So they need to
yeah.
rack up some wins somewhere. Um, and they're playing against, good teams a lot of the weeks. They've already kind of used up the margin for error, I think. So It's a
Certainly
you
getting
know
there.
it's a it's tough. So you don't you wonder how they're going to do going forward. It's only one loss, but again, like it was a big loss, I think, this week. It counted for a lot, especially seeing some of the other teams what they did uh, in winning and in the like we talked about the tiebreakers and things like that. So
Yeah.
um, I'm a little concerned. Are you
Like,
concerned about the Chiefs going forward? Or do you think this is just a blip and they're gonna be fine? Or what's your t take on this?
yeah, I go back and forth on this one a bit too, because like some of the teams that they're, trailing right now, like teams in the division, Denver and the Chargers, they're going to face them, again in the season for the Chargers and then twice for Broncos. So like they could, if they manage to win like those three games, they're not as much of a risk for being the team out from the division at least. The tiebreaker goes away if they beat the Chargers in the other game. If they manage to beat Denver both times, then they'd have a pretty hefty advantage there. In case they end up tied with Denver. But that's not something you can count on. But Denver's been playing some pretty close games and seeing some of like doing kind of what the Chiefs did last year and squeaking by, narrowly avoiding losses like this week and last week, both. Um, you know, as Chiefs fans, I think we probably would have liked to have seen them take at least one of those losses, right?
Yeah, yeah. That Giants loss especially would have looked like it should have been a loss.
Yeah, yeah, definitely should have been a loss. But that was kind of inexcusable, really, because wasn't that like an 18-point lead that was erased in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter?
fourth quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't think it's super worrisome for the Chiefs, but it's not. It should be more concerning than we've been concerned in the last several years. And usually they have such a big lead in the division at this point that it's not really been even a worry for the team, right? But do you think there's any at least thought in the back of the minds of the Chiefs personnel, especially high up in the organization, that maybe they would be okay with not having a first place schedule every season? It's
Hmm.
probably not a great mentality to have, but because you can risk not making the playoffs, but these last several years, like it seems like their schedules have been like much more challenging than a lot of the teams that end up making the playoffs, especially because teams from like weak divisions are
Hmm.
essentially guaranteed a route in anyway. But not having to play the number one or number two teams from every division every year, maybe they'd have a little bit better route next season if they didn't have to face this number one schedule every time. You think
Yeah, it's
that factors
possible.
into it at all?
I don't know. I don't think they want to lose the division and make the playoffs really, but
Yeah,
and you want to have that bye. I think it's one of those things as well. You think, well, maybe as you know, even you don't want to think of it, but like even if they an earlier playoff exit would result in better draft picks for rebuilding or something like that, you think, okay, maybe one year we can do that and get, pick
yeah,
20th in the draft rather than 32nd, or 31st again. Um,
right.
but you don't want that. I don't think you really want that. But
Yeah,
it's one of those things where you think, are the Chiefs? They are. It seems like they have smaller and smaller and smaller margins for error every year, um, because they've had such high standards the previous years. But you also kind of say, well, you want the Chiefs to go to their fourth straight Super Bowl, do something that only the Bills have done, and actually maybe win three out of four rather than lose four out of
all
four
three.
like the
Yeah,
Bills did. But
right.
or you want to go into Buffalo and beat the Bills in their last game in the old stadium and on the road in the playoffs. That might be something as a goal for the Chiefs, since probably they will have to play the Bills on the road if they do play them in the playoffs, because now the Bills have the tiebreaker and they have a better record right now than the Chiefs
Something
do.
pretty drastic has to happen for the Chiefs to end up on top of Buffalo at
Yeah.
the end of the regular
Well,
season, right?
Buffalo would have to, yeah, Chiefs would have to be the division winner, and Buffalo would have to be a wild card, to
Right.
basically, I think,
So
this
New England would have to end up,
winning the division.
yeah,
Yeah.
taking the division probably relatively handily, right? Like they're gonna have to beat Buffalo again,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, probably, probably.
Yeah.
Um, but New England's looking pretty good this year. Uh, yeah, should we talk about the not, so what do you think of what did the Chiefs do wrong against Buffalo? Should they have done something else? Was it just because they had too many injuries on the line and they were running against a very, proud Bills uh defense who had some of their players back. Milano came back, some of the other guys, uh they were healthier than they had been in previous.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I mean, I think a lot of people have talked about in the last couple of days is about the Chiefs' run game being, featured somewhat in the first half and then basically non-existent in the second half. But like, they kind of abandoned all the sort of short pipe passing too that kind of like helps them get plays, open up the field a bit by like, having some of these like, short plays, little sort of, dump offs to Rice, just try to get him involved, running with Rice or stuff like that too. Like they kind of didn't really do any of that in the second half. So they look very one dimensional. And it was like you either try to run up the middle once or just throw downfield and, not really have a shot at completing passes or Mahomes is, running for his life kind of
Yeah.
thing again. So
He got
I mean,
sacked
it
several
wasn't,
times.
uh, yeah, some of that dynamic nature that we saw a couple of weeks ago, we just didn't really see a whole lot of. There wasn't really, it didn't seem very inventive either, though. It was kind of,
Is that the Chiefs not wanting to show the Bills their hand for later? Is that
that's
something?
what I can talk myself into thinking that that's the case. And like maybe there's that mentality amongst like the team, maybe management all the way down, filtering down to the players too, that they kind of feel that
Hmm.
way. I mean, they have seemed like for, the last several years that they have that mentality that they can just like, get through the regular season and then turn it on in the playoffs. Uh, it seems like it's still there. Like that mentality is still there. I don't know though. Like
Yeah.
some of it just didn't feel as, comfortable this week, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, something like that. It was I don't know what it was either. But the Chiefs, yeah, Mahomes didn't look comfortable all day. He didn't really scramble in the way that he did normally either. He seemed like he got caught in the pocket a lot. He wasn't able to, break those first down runs very
Right.
often. He just was, I don't know what the deal was. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's a loss is a loss. It ended up not being as lopsided maybe it seemed at some point it might become. It was only another one score game. So the Chiefs, although Chiefs losses have been by less a touchdown or less
Yeah.
this
And
year.
they were even taking shots at the end zone at the end too. So it
Yeah,
wasn't like, they were down by 7 and Buffalo had the ball and just like ran out the last 10 minutes of the game or something like that. So it
yeah,
wasn't that, but it didn't seem as close, I think, as it actually was, like you said. Yeah.
yeah. But it's a week to hopefully forget, go to the bye week, get some much needed rest, and start the second half of the season. And starting it against Denver, who also who's sort of will get a sort of mini bye because the Broncos play on Thursday against the Raiders this coming week. So it's not quite the advantage maybe that you'd like having a full bye versus a team having only a week,
Right.
but it's still maybe a little bit of an advantage against Denver. Going to Denver, another tough place to play.
Yeah.
We'll talk about next week's games in a little bit, though. We had perhaps an even worse week than the Chiefs did in our locks of the week. I think this is the first time in recent memory, at least, that we've both finished 0 and 3 in our locks of the week. So we had a combined 0 for 6. So somebody picking against us would have really cleaned up this week in the locks of the week. So the George Costanza approach with the one trick power hour would have really turned out uh, very pretty this week. So do you want to go through our locks of the week, our losses of the week, and try to
Particularly.
explain them away?
Sure.
Is it again? Is it our? Do we make bad picks, or the teams just underperform and not do very uh, well? Um,
Well,
yeah,
this
my
this was a really bizarre week. There were some really big upsets, and I think we had lots of picks in those, at least a couple of those bad, close, weird upset games. So
yeah.
uh, we were not we weren't free from the weirdness of the week uh,
No.
in our picks.
Well, I guess I'll go first. My first pick was San Francisco at the New York Giants. I thought it would be a lower scoring game with San Francisco not scoring very many points, and neither the Giants, because both of them have injury troubles. I thought it would be a lower scoring game. It was the over under was 48 and a half. The Giants ended up scoring 24, and the 49ers ended up scoring 34. So that was a 58 total. So they were 9.5 points over the 48 and a half. So that was so it was a much higher scoring game than I would have anticipated. So that was my first loss of the week. How about yours, Dr. Scaff?
Yeah, it went over really late too, it looks like.
Yeah, that was probably my closest.
Inside the 2 minute warning with garbage time TD from the team that was behind by 17 points.
Yeah,
They brought it back by 7. So yeah, that's not good.
uh,
That's annoying because the
yeah,
score did not matter at all, right?
yeah. It mattered to bettors around the world, but yeah, not to the game so much. But yeah,
And my first pick was an over on a low point total game in the Denver at Houston game, and that game was ended up being played very low scoring. Final score was 18-15 with Denver scoring 11 points in the fourth quarter to win the game and not get only get within a touchdown of the over. So uh, yeah, I don't know. That's several times this year I think I've bet on Houston and been disappointed. I don't know what's going on with them this year so far. I
yeah.
haven't quite
Well,
figured out them, and Denver seems to just be like able to pull out these games this year, like kind of the Chiefs did last year. So uh,
yeah. That was so we were.
another strange game.
Mhm. Yeah, then I'm maybe one of the biggest upsets of the maybe if not the biggest, one of the biggest upsets of the week was Minnesota winning against Detroit in Detroit. They won 27-24. Detroit was 8.5 point underdogs. I picked Detroit to cover the spread. Not only did not cover, they did not win. So that was turned out to be a bad bet from yours truly. And so that was my second loss of the week. I don't really want to go over it too much anymore. But yeah, I think JJ McCarthy made his return uh, with Minnesota. They scored quite a few points, and the defense of the Lions did not hold up their end of the bargain, trying keeping Minnesota out of the end zone. So it was 27-24 Minnesota over Detroit. So that was my second loss. How about your second loss of the week?
And McCarthy didn't even really have that great at numbers either, so
No, yeah.
it's not like it doesn't look like his return actually like was like the spark that they needed to rebound. So I don't I Detroit's another one of those teams that's been like really up and down this year too.
Hmm.
Uh, Another up and down team that I had picked against in this one had their up week and the wrong week for me at least anyway. Was in the New England Atlanta game. I had New England at -5.5. New England struggled in this one. They did manage to win the game, Uh, Close. It was 24-23, so they did win, but they didn't cover the spread. They did give up looks like nine fourth quarter points to Dallas or to Atlanta. It looks like Drake London scored a touchdown with under 5 minutes to go, but they failed on an extra point attempt, which ended the made the game end up being just a 1 point game. And like maybe if Atlanta tied it, then New England would have been encouraged to go down and score a touchdown and maybe win the game and cover the spread. But that is not what happened. New England ended up just you know not scoring anymore after that. So won, but did not cover the spread. So that was my second loss of the week.
Second loss of the week. So over four so far. Uh, then my third loss of the week was another favorite, not only not covering the spread, but losing outright at home. This was Dallas against Arizona. Dallas was 2.5 point home home favorites. They lost by 10 points at home to Arizona. I was reading somewhere that Arizona is now 3-10 lifetime on Monday Night Football. All three of their victories have come against Dallas. Uh,
That's bizarre.
that's the only team they've beaten on Monday Night Football. So if you don't want to
Now,
be the Cowboys,
now, if only you had heard that stat before that game
yeah,
instead of after, right?
yeah. So it was 27-17 Arizona. So I missed that one by 12 and a half points. So um, yeah, the Cowboys' vaunted offense did not come through uh, for them. This was a game that you expect the Cowboys to score a lot of points. They only scored 17, which isn't very many for Dallas, especially at home uh, on a night game like this. So Arizona, and it wasn't even Kyler Murray; it was Jacoby Brissett starting at quarterback for the Cardinals. So you wonder, it was just a not a good week for me. I did not pick anything right. I did terribly also on the big board. Lost even more money, maybe than this time than last week. This was just an awful week for me. So I've had two really bad weeks in a row. 0-3 this week. Um, and so we're trying to lick my wounds and come out better next week. How about maybe we'll just cover your loss, your third loss, and then maybe we can just move on from this awful week. You did better uh, than I did on the big board this week, but still, we both lost money.
In that Arizona game, though, do you think that Jacoby Brissett may be more of a permanent replacement for Murray, or do you think that's still going to be just like a an
I think
independent, maybe just game to game decision?
I think they'll once Murray gets healthy again, I think they'll go back to Kyler Murray. But
Yeah,
Brissett's been proving to be a capable backup.
but that's a solid win though over a decent team.
Yeah.
So that's and putting up a lot of points too. It wasn't just a
Hmm.
you know winning like a 10-7 slugfest either, right? Defensive struggle. No, it wasn't
Yeah.
that. Uh, So my third pick was another one of those games that was a favorite. Uh, Not only did not cover the spread, but also lost the game, like your Dallas pick. I had Indy -3 at Pittsburgh, and Indy ended up not playing well at all in that one. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, was pretty solid actually for Pittsburgh. Final score there was 27-20 Pittsburgh. Uh, so that completed our complete unlock. We're all rusty locks, all just I don't know what they were. Not
Damaged,
good.
unusable
Uh,
blocks.
yeah,
Yeah, we were
rusted,
0 for 6.
broken keys, stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
bad.
this would have been my week to pick Pittsburgh, because I sometimes like Pittsburgh as underdog, but they have, of course, picked this week to be good rather than any of the previous weeks to be
Right.
good. So it's just one of those weeks where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. We were both very terrible picking spreads this week. We were only 5 out of 14 each of us. You did better on the money line and on the over unders much better. So you ended up coming out only about $150 short on the big board. I was almost $1,500 short on the big board. $1,450 short on the big board, which was even worse than my $1,300 last week I lost on the big board. So I'm just getting worse and worse as the season goes on. At least Dr. Scaff is hovering around the break-even point, if not sometimes making money. I just have no idea what's going on. I don't know. This is the week I decide to break my all under bets and decide to go some overs and unders depending on the game. I'm pondering that. I haven't decided yet. I still think that the games can't keep going over all the time. Um, so I just,
Another this week was 8 overs, 6 unders. So we still ended up, even though the lines were 2 full points higher
yeah,
than the week before, they still had 8 overs.
yeah,
So, and, some of these like games like the Chicago Cincinnati game, which was 47-42,
hmm
89 points, 37.5 points over the line, Mike. There's something odd about some of these games, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm looking at 47-42.
Yeah, scoregami.
Was it a scoregami? Do you think it was a scoregami?
I'll say no.
If you had made this if you had made that guess, you were correct. If you had made that guess more than 5 years ago, uh, you would be incorrect. However,
No.
uh, there have been three games that were 47-42, all within the past 5 years.
Wow.
Um, the Raven and the Cleveland Browns were involved in the first two games as losers, 47-42 against the Ravens and the Chargers. And then the
Hmm.
Bears beat the Bengals 47-42 this time. So, yeah, it was a scoregami until December 14th, 2020 is when it became a scoregami. And then the next season, it was no longer a scoregami. Actually, on your birthday, Dr.
Oh.
Scott, in 2021, October the 10th.
Yes.
But yeah, so
Hmm.
uh, I don't know if there were any scoregamis this week.
Yeah. Which game do you think would be the most likely to be the scoregami? The 47-42 would be the oddball one, but
Yeah, 47-42 was um, the lowest, only three. 30-29 Jaguars over Raiders, only eight
yeah.
games finished 30-29.
Okay. That would have been my next guess as to what would be the oddball score would be the
Mhm.
30-29 one. Yeah. The other one's like relatively, there's no like totally odd score, like a 4 or something in there. No,
No.
none of those.
Yeah, the most common score by far was the Vikings Lions 27-24. Now,
Mm,
240 games have been 27-24. Then there's several other ones in the hundred that finished in the hundreds. 27,
yeah.
16-13. Two games finished 27-20 actually um, this week.
Yeah, that wasn't even a unique score this week. Yeah.
No.
All right. Well,
Should we move
yeah,
on to talking a little bit about baseball before we
sure.
move back to the NFL. So the World Series is now over. We have a new World Series champion who is actually the old World Series champion. That's the Los Angeles Dodgers who won. We're down 3 games to 2 going back to Toronto. Toronto just had to win one home game to win the series. They won neither home game. Game 6 and 7, they both lost. Game 7 in 11 innings. The Dodgers came back to win. So The Los Angeles Dodgers win in 7 games over the Toronto Blue Jays. Were you surprised that the Dodgers came back? Were you unsurprised? Are you disappointed if you're the I guess you're disappointed if you're the Blue Jays, but who did the Blue Jays lose the World Series, or did the Dodgers win the World Series in your opinion?
I think that the Dodgers probably took it. Yeah, I think they won. They won the series. Yeah, but like, Yamamoto's performance in game 6 to get another win as a starter, and then coming back out to pitch in the last couple innings of game 7 then too was pretty impressive on, just on the one overnights,
Hmm.
partial day rest. That was pretty impressive. And then, getting a late home run to tie it, and then next inning home run from their catcher too. It was pretty exciting game 7. Uh, I don't really feel all that bad for Toronto though either, but I don't know. I had a hard time really enjoying the series because I really do not like the Dodgers. I don't
Hmm.
like the way they have stacked the team with all this talent at an incredible expense, and they still had a very flawed team. This was very, very surprising. Like they didn't have a bullpen. Like they used like all starters basically in game 7, which is a really odd way to get through your a game 7 scenario. Did you notice that, or did you think that was interesting that they used each starter for 2 or so innings to
Um,
get through game 7?
yeah, that was an interesting strategy. I think it's a good
Yeah.
strategy in the playoffs. You don't really want to face. I think it's not necessarily the innings even. It's just the number of times through the lineup that
Hmm.
makes that it seems like the pitchers just kind of crash, especially the third time through the lineup. So if you can
Yeah.
keep it down to only once through the lineup, maybe if that, um,
But they
you
had
can.
made their realization that their bullpen is just not up to the same level that you would typically expect to see from a World Series contending team.
No,
If you look back to like the years that the Royals were contenders, they had this like crazy strong bullpen, and the starters were just sort of, can they eke out 4 to 5 innings to get it deep enough to turn it over to the pen? And the Dodgers were completely the opposite. They're
the opposite.
totally
Yeah,
reliant on a starter
I'm starting.
going deep just
Yeah,
to survive. Yeah,
yeah, that's a new. Yeah, you'd think the bullpen, especially on a team like that that can just pay players as much as they want, the bullpen would be better. But maybe it's because they pay the starters so much they don't have as much money to spend on the bullpen. Um,
yeah,
they they pay, yeah, just, but yeah, it was I guess, there's more than one way to build a winning team apparently.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it took a lot of strategy, which I think was really impressive, though, too. Even with the hundreds of millions of dollars that they spent on this team, more than what other teams were spending by a vast fortune. But money still ended up winning, I guess, in that regard, like it or not.
Hmm. Yeah.
But still impressive.
Yes. Worthy World Series champion.
True.
Uh, are you looking forward so do you think who is more likely, the Dodgers three-peat, or the Royals make the playoffs next year, do you think?
Ooh. Uh, I'd have to say the Dodgers repeating is much more likely than the Royals even making the playoffs. I would guess. I would like to be hopeful and think with the Royals, but what are the Dodgers going to do in the offseason this year? And it's probably going to be spending a lot more money. So
Hmm.
they will still find a way to restack the deck. And the Royals are always going to be dealing with the same issues.
Yeah.
So I don't see the Royals suddenly becoming like an intelligent, rational decision making team, making the right choices every time there's a decision to be made to make sure the team wins the game. I don't see that happening.
You don't see the Royals winning
I,
5 or 6 more games this year than next year than they won this year. They're 82.
not not with the strategies that they employ. I don't know that they're going to be able to pick up, the necessary free agents. The strategy that gets them to the playoffs again is that they do as little as possible, and the players that they already have outperform their expectations, especially from this season. So that's not necessarily the bluest of skies interpretation of what my expectation is, but uh, it's possible, but I don't expect it. Mike, what about you? Do you think the Royals are destined for the playoffs next year?
I don't know if they're destined, but I think they can make the playoffs next year. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah,
Um, I would say the Royals' likelihood of winning the making the playoffs is, I don't know if it's 50-50, but it's I think at least I'd say at least 30 to 40% chance of making the playoffs next year. And I don't know if the Dodgers have a 30 to 40% chance of winning the World Series next year. So I
that's
would say the
true.
Royals more likely to make the playoffs than the Dodgers are to win a three-peat. That's my guess, anyway.
That's a more rational way to think about it, but even then, I'd still take the Dodgers repeating over the Royals making the playoffs for some reason.
Well, you might be right. Uh, yeah. Um, well, that's the end of the baseball season. We have hot stove baseball to look forward to. Do you think the Royals are going to make any big free agent splashes, or are all the big free agents going to sign with the Dodgers again?
Well, I guess we know that what Kershaw's likely to retire, so they're going to be trying to replace the starter there. So whatever the number one starter is on the market, they're probably going to end up scooping that up. And I don't know that the Royals are really looking for that, but I don't know. I mean, they're I think the biggest free agents that are out there this offseason are going to be like Kyle Schwarber, who I don't think the Royals have any chance of
Mm-mm.
picking up. Uh, so I don't know. I don't really see them making a splashy move. How about you? What do you think?
Well, the Royals did re-sign Salvador Perez today to a new 2-year contract. So he's going to be with the Royals the next couple of years rather than becoming a free agent. 2 years for $25 million. Not a huge contract.
Yeah.
He's getting older. Uh, and he had
I think
signed
he had, what was it? Did he have like 1 year and an option or something left? And it seemed like it made sense if you just turned it into a 2-year deal. I think it was something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not terribly surprising. He's one of those guys that you hope that they will keep around through the time that he decides to retire, and then the hope
Mhm.
is that you would also transition him into being in some kind of managerial role,
Yeah.
coaching, or I don't know if you want him to go straight to managing, but seems like he would be a pretty good bench coach on day one
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
his retirement.
He knows how to handle a pitching staff. He knows, he's been around a long time at this point. He knows really the ins and outs probably of every position. Uh, he's played, in the field. He's played catcher. He's been a young guy. He's been an old guy. He's been on winning teams. He's been on losing teams. He knows really the ins and outs of the game, and speaks Spanish and English.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Seems like he has a great attitude all the time. He's
yeah,
usually tries to keep things pretty light and fun. So that's the kind of energy I think you want in your dugout every year. And he's been there for quite a while at this point, right? Didn't he come up in like 2012, 11?
something like yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, it's been 14, 15 seasons with him there. It'd be kind of hard to picture the dugout without him in it almost at this point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have so we'll
But that,
look
but that
forward
probably
to.
doesn't qualify as a splashy free agent.
No, no. But yeah, the pitching they don't need. It seems like think they don't. They need. hitting more than he pitching, but you think maybe they'll just go, let's say Caglione and Carter Jensen will heat up. They'll be playing the next year. The pitching staff is pretty deep. You'd think they got some trades at the end of this year. It's got some, young pitchers. They have Reagan's coming back, you hope, at a full strength. Um, Lugo, I guess maybe is Waka going to be around? He might be. Uh,
I think he's still around for one more season. Lugo they extended like during the year, so
yeah.
he should be back.
Noah
But he had some
Cameron
kind of health
coming
issues at the
back.
end of the year.
Yeah. Bubich maybe healthy again. Noah Cameron coming back. So there's a lot of potential depth in the starting rotation. And you just think the bullpen is probably going to be okay. So maybe, maybe the Royals are looking okay for next year. But yeah, it's going to be the lineup that it's going to can Garcia play as well as he did this year? Can Vinny Pasquantino keep it up? Uh, Bobby Witt Jr. had a little bit of a down-ish year compared to the year before, but he
Hmm.
still played very well, but it wasn't quite as strong as his
Yeah,
2024 season. But yeah, yeah. So I don't think the Royals are out of the playoff picture, maybe in the same way that you do, uh,
yeah.
but
Well, and also I don't know if you noticed though, but Kyle Isbell got on the ballot for the center field Gold Glove Award too. Did you notice that?
oh yeah.
Which is pretty good, even though from a guy that wasn't really expected to be all that good. I think he was pretty good defensively, but he was pretty decent with the bat all season. So he wasn't just a decent glove, but good enough
Yeah.
that he got a recognition from the league for his defensive efforts. So
Yeah.
hopefully that helps encourage the Royals to like use him more often and not shy away from having him in the lineup every day rather than only facing right-handed pitching there too. That's what I would like to see more of.
hmm Well, we'll see. We'll find out.
Yeah.
It'll take a while until April rolls around, but we'll periodically tune back into the Royals as the winter meetings go on and as spring training rolls around. A couple of months. It's only a few more months till spring training, back February. So we're in November now. Um, Reaching the end of the calendar year, Dr. Scaff. So that means we are getting into prime football season. We're now week 10 of the NFL season starting on Thursday with a match between the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. We also have we have no Chiefs game this week because the Chiefs are on their bye. So we have a little less to talk about in terms of previews, but we do want to see if we can make our locks of the week actual locks rather than uh, you know being flops of the week as they've been these last couple weeks. We've been doing poorly. We were each 0 for 3 this week together, 0 for 6. Can we will we do better than that this week, do you think? Are you confident, Dr. Scaff, that we will at least get one lock correct
Yes, I think we will get at least one correct, Mike.
collectively?
Yeah, I'm not going to make it a lock of the week that we will get one lock of the week correct, but I do think it will happen.
Okay. Um, do you want to go first with your lock of the week, Dr.
Uh,
Scaff?
sure. Why not?
Then we can talk about some other games that we aren't making bets on if any come to mind.
Yeah. And we've tended to shy away from the Thursday night games being relatively unpredictable. Also, an international game this week, game in Madrid, I believe,
Mhm.
between who's in that
The
game?
Colts and the Falcons.
Yeah, I don't think I'm interested in that game. I don't think you were either.
I was
From a
thinking about it
lock
until I realized
perspective.
that it was in Madrid. So,
Yeah. And then even after you said that, I still looked at it and then you had to remind me that it was in Madrid, and then I also decided to pass on that as a possible lock. Uh, but I'm gonna go. My first pick will go. I think in another early game, not an 8:30 a.m. Central Time game, but noon game. uh, the Baltimore Minnesota game. Baltimore's a 3.5 point favorite at Minnesota. Minnesota didn't have a very good week last week with JJ McCarthy returning. Lamar Jackson is back with Baltimore. I like Baltimore's chances at at least making a run at the playoffs, and they don't really have a lot of room for error right now. So I think they're going to be making an effort to make sure that they not just win, but win comfortably. So I see them covering that 3.5 point spread at Minnesota.
Well, yeah, you would think maybe, especially um, yeah, with Lamar Jackson back, he had 4 touchdown passes against Miami. Miami played terribly in the game, the Thursday night game that Lamar came back in, but 28-6 victory that they had. But Minnesota's also coming off a big victory at Detroit, so they're coming back home. You would think maybe perhaps they're looking to build on their momentum, so anything could happen. I actually hope the Ravens lose that game because I don't want to
Yeah,
see them in the playoffs. I think they're too much of a threat to the Chiefs,
no,
even though the Chiefs usually beat Baltimore. Um, but yeah, I still think that I'd rather have a weaker AFC North team, the Steelers or the Bengals or something like that make the playoffs and not the um, Baltimore Ravens. So I hope you're wrong in this game because I think the Ravens have a fairly easy schedule coming up, so they need to get a few losses here and there. So this is probably one of their tougher games on coming up. So I'm hoping for an outright victory by the home Vikings, but I think that I don't think it's a bad bet that you've made with Lamar and the Ravens on the road. Um,
since we're sort of like talking on opposite sides of this, one of us has to be right. So maybe you should have made this one of your locks of the week so that we were opposed. So one of us has to be right.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I could have.
But no, thank you.
Maybe that's what we'll resort to doing next week if we go over six again.
If we
Uh,
do, we're definitely picking against each.
my lock of the week, my first lock of the week is actually the Monday night game. Uh, Philadelphia at Green Bay. Green Bay is favored by 2.5 points. I think Philadelphia is a better team. Green Bay, of course, lost last week. Um, Philadelphia is coming off the bye. Um, So I think Philadelphia with an extra week of practice, I think Philadelphia not only covers the 2.5 points, but I think they'll win outright at Green Bay. Green Bay has been kind of up and down. I don't think they're as good as the Eagles are, especially coming off the bye. So in Green Bay lost this last week at home to the Carolina Panthers. Maybe you'll say, well, they won't lose 2 weeks in a row, but it's still, they're maybe I don't know, they're inconsistent in certain ways, and I think Philadelphia will use that extra week of practice and extra week off to come out strong, and so I like Philadelphia at Green Bay plus 2.5.
And Green Bay had some difficulty scoring last week against Carolina. Do you think they have an easier time putting points on the board against Philly's defense?
It'll be tough. Philadelphia has a very good defense. So yeah, I can see Philadelphia holding them. I think Philadelphia's offense will score more than 16 against Green Bay. This defense though,
Yeah.
so even if they allow more points, I think they'll score more points with Jalen Hurts and Saquon and AJ Brown and in that offense. I just think it'll be probably a little higher scoring game than 29 total points.
Higher than 29, but I'm guessing you're still going to say less than the over under of the 45.5, though, Mike. Is this maybe the game that you finally break your all unders on?
I haven't decided quite yet, so we'll see what my strategy is going to be. I don't know if I'll pick the games individually or not because I feel like if I did that, I'll miss more than I'm doing the spreads individually and I'm doing terribly on those. So it's just been it's just hard. I'm not confident in myself right now. Think I've second guessed myself too much now, so I am not even able to go with the opposite since I don't even know what the opposite of my initial impression is. So I'm just going to we'll leave the strategy until um, Saturday night, Sunday morning when I make my picks.
Game time decision.
Game time decision. Yes. Or I
Yeah,
might make them more in advance. I might actually make them more in advance this week. I need to do. I'm going to be gone on Saturday night,
yeah.
so maybe I'll make them on Saturday afternoon. Uh, we'll see.
Just to be sure. Yeah.
Just to be sure. Sometimes
Other
maybe a
other way not
farther
to.
out forecast will do better than on the day of. Maybe that
Oh,
will uh,
it's possible.
be a little better. But I know you we adjust the spread we adjust the spread towards the last minute, so I don't.
Yeah, I try to get it like Friday night or Saturday morning. Usually is what I aim for.
Okay, so I'll try to
But
do. Yeah, maybe
yeah.
I'll pick it about then. How about your next block of the week, Dr. Scaff?
Second pick is game another like sort of rebound opportunity I think for Detroit. They have a pretty sizable spread on their game, which I know you probably don't like all that much, uh, but you did last week.
I did, and it turned
And
out
it's the
poorly.
same spread this week, Mike, and this time it's on the road. But so it's what Detroit favored by 8.5 points, but it's at Washington, who just lost Jaden Daniels for likely for the season, dislocated elbow.
Mhm.
That looked pretty awful.
It wasn't his
Um,
throwing elbow, so that was the only fortunate thing.
right, right. But presumably he's not going to be playing anytime soon, especially not in this game. I don't think that Washington is better with their replacement than with Shane
With
Daniels. Sometimes,
Mariota.
there are some quarterbacks that, maybe their replacement can be better than the starter, like possibly in Arizona, like we saw last week.
Mhm.
I don't think Washington is that type of team, though. So I've got Washington or Detroit at -8.5. At Washington is my second lock.
Yeah, I do think Mariota's a pretty good backup, but and I think Detroit's probably gonna bounce back after a bad week. So I don't think that's a bad bet. The Chiefs ended up handling Washington pretty easily with Mariota as the quarterback. So maybe the Lions can do the same. It's in Washington, so it's a little different. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that's a bad I don't think that's a bad bet. Um, I'm not sure what I think. Detroit will win that game. Again, cover it's a big spread, so maybe I might look at the other side, but it's not, especially if the line changes any between now and then. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad bet. Go with
Yeah,
mine.
Detroit coming off of a loss sort of thing makes me think that they will try to put up a lot of points.
Yeah,
That's the main reason why I think it's solid, but who knows?
I think it works too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going the same reasoning for my second bet is that this is Houston at home against Jacksonville. Houston is 1.5 point favorites at home against Jacksonville. They lost last week at home against Denver in a close game. Jacksonville won last week as well. So Jacksonville's coming off a win. Houston's coming off a loss, but I still think Houston is going to win at home against Jacksonville. So the Houston -1.5 is really it's a Houston almost a Houston money line bet, and so I think Houston's going to beat Jacksonville. So I think they'll cover the spread. Um, Houston -1.5 at home against Jacksonville.
Maybe we're seeing some parallels from what we did last week, picking teams that should be hungry for wins, much as we are, I suppose, right, from
Yes, we are hungry for
our
wins.
perspective. So yeah, there does seem to be some parallels here, Mike.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how
Uh,
that turns out.
yeah.
How about your final lock of the week that will bring you to 3-0 next week?
Yes. Not based on recent trends, but yes, I like your thinking though, Mike. My third pick is going to be an over under. I am interested to see how Arizona handles this quarterback switch. They've got a division matchup game against Seattle. Both teams seem to be scoring pretty handily, but like they both seem to be, yeah, able to put up points. They both have been giving up points though too. So I think this seems like it's likely to be a relatively high scoring game. Over under is kind of in the middle, like right on the average over under line number for the entire league this week at 45 and a half, which is about 2 points lower than what last week's over under average line was last week. So I think this one will clear that. I think it's going to be a relatively high scoring game. I haven't decided who I think is going to actually win this one yet. Probably leaning a little bit towards Seattle, but for the lock of the week for me, I'm going Arizona at Seattle over 45 and a half.
Arizona Cardinal over 45. If I go all unders, I will pick an under that for that one. But I can see it going over. Arizona, Seattle. Seattle's been scoring a lot of points. Arizona scored a decent number of points last week against at Dallas. I don't. I think they could. I think they could break out and score similar numbers. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad bet. The way Seattle, especially the way Seattle's been playing, I think Seattle will score. Will get its points.
Yeah.
And divisional game, maybe it'll be who knows, but could be a little bit higher scoring than we think. Um, One of those shootouts out west. Um, you're going with an over for your third lock of the week. I'm going with an under for my third lock of the week. I'm picking Buffalo at Miami. I think it'll be a similar game to the Baltimore at Miami Thursday night contest. Miami, after that Thursday night contest, fired their GM. They did keep Mike McDaniel around basically because I think he's the only one who knows the offense. So they can't fire him this year. They're probably going to wait until the end of the season. But Miami looked just awful. Tua didn't look very good either. They lost 28-6, so that was comfortably under. We have a 50 and a half over under spread for under with Buffalo at Miami. I think Buffalo again might score 35, but I don't know if Miami will even score 10. So I like Buffalo to roll in that one and kind of not allow Miami to score very many points. Again, of course, I could be wrong and it could be crazy, but I'm going to go with the under 50 and a half. That's the highest. I think that's the highest over under of the week as well. So I'm going to go under the highest over under.
Yeah, this is one of those matchups that you don't really expect both teams to go high scoring, right? You think if one team, if it's relatively high scoring, it's probably going to be one team scoring a lot of points, the other team scoring almost nothing, right? So you don't picture Buffalo scoring enough points to cover the over on their own, right? Like that's too high, right?
Yeah, even if they have a Carolina style game, 40-9, that's only 49 points. That's still a little bit under the 50 and a half. So I
Right.
am hopeful.
You feel relatively comfortable then that way, I think,
Yeah.
So I like the under in that one too. Maybe it's worrisome if we're agreeing on that one, but
Yeah.
did you
The
did you think it was odd though to see the GM fired midseason? Because what is that actually going to accomplish
I don't
uh
know.
after a game? Like the GM didn't play the game. The
Yeah,
GM
it's a
was
little strange.
responsible for, helping to build the roster, but I don't see how firing a GM during the season and leaving the coach. I can see an owner being like, all right, this is going the wrong direction. Everybody's out, like in management, right? That I understand. It's still not necessarily a great idea, but
Hmm.
firing just the GM seems to make
It's a little strange. I think a little strange
no
too.
sense, does it? I don't know.
I guess they wanted some head to roll. They couldn't fire the coach, so we're going to fire the GM. Uh,
Yeah. But do you think that will have any impact on this game? Do you think the players are going to be feeling some kind of pressure to perform by having their boss's boss being removed?
Sometimes there's a rally around an interim coach when the coach is new. So, but I don't know
Yeah.
if there's going to be a rally around the interim GM. Who knows though? Um, but yeah, I think it'll probably be a similar. Again, they're playing out the season. We're starting to trade some of their they traded some of their players away. They're just looking to end the season without too many injuries and just regroup for next year, who rebuild next year. That's hopefully that's where Miami is at this point, at least for
Yeah,
my over under pick. Um, so those are our over unders. I mean, those are our locks of the week. Uh, Hopefully, we will turn it around and go 6-0 rather than 0-6 and get these things turned around. But are there any other games on the schedule that you're looking forward to, especially? I see there's a couple that I like besides the ones that we've mentioned so far. It's an easy week to watch without the Chiefs playing. You can pay attention to these other
yeah.
games a bit more. Um,
Yeah, there's some
are
pretty
there?
good division rivalries.
Yeah.
Like the Thursday night game. Like I'm curious to see what happens. I'd love to see the Raiders beat the Broncos just to like knock them down a game in the division standings. I think the Rams San Francisco game is probably one of the more interesting games because I don't know how either of those teams are really going to play in that one. I just kind of want to see it as a a sports fan anyway.
hmm Yeah,
And
the Rams lost to the 49ers at home earlier this year.
yeah,
This year they're favored by 3.5 on the road, so it's a interesting
yeah,
deal.
and Mac Jones has been up and down
hmm
recently. Played a little bit, played pretty well in this last week's game. So if there's trends, then maybe he's trending in the right direction. But I don't know that it's really a something that you can predict that way.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Hard to say. There's a couple other games that I like look at. There's the New England at Tampa Bay. I think will be a good game.
Mhm.
Drake May's been playing very, very well. Some people think he's going to in the MVP conversation. Baker Mayfield has also been really solid for Tampa Bay this year. Tampa Bay is coming off the bye, so they're going to be
Yeah,
at home. And I actually like Tampa's chances. They're the 2.5 point home favorites. That was one of the ones I was thinking of possibly doing as a lock of the week. I thought that I like Tampa Bay by at least a field goal.
yeah,
Um, but that's going to be a good game. I think the Pittsburgh Chargers game is going to be an interesting game as well, the Sunday night game. So there's some
yeah,
pretty good matchups, I think, coming up. I don't know if Chargers are favored by a field goal over the Steelers. I think that's probably a good. I would. I don't know which side I want for that one. I would probably lean the home team, but Pittsburgh's fans always travel well, so there might not really be a home field advantage for the Chargers at SoFi Stadium on Sunday night.
yeah.
Um, what do you
I'm
think
not
the
sure how to
worst?
pick that one either.
Yeah, what do you think the worst game of the slate is?
Ooh, there are a couple contenders here, Mike. I think there's two real contenders. I've got New Orleans and Carolina. Probably not something that I'm gonna want to tune into. Also, Cleveland at the Jets.
Yeah, I think Cleveland at the
Browns
Jets is probably the
Jets.
worst because Carolina's actually
Yeah,
been pretty good this year now.
it's
Uh,
solid. Yeah,
they
I don't
they
really want to watch it though.
no
I don't
no
know.
not with Shuck probably playing the rest of the year as the
Yeah.
starter in New Orleans. I still think Rattler is a better pick, but they probably won't go back to him at least for a little while. Um,
Was he injured or just not as effective as they were?
It is not as I think just they wanted to see what they had in Shuck
Yeah,
and was not,
they did spend some draft capital on that, right? With the
yeah,
somewhat surprisingly, he was the number two
second round pick. He was
being
after
drafted, right?
third, I think after so it was Cam Ward and then Jackson Dart
Oh, Dart. I forgot about Dart. That's
at
right.
the end of the
Yeah.
first round and then second
Yeah.
it was Shuck. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was we have that going for us. Anything else you're looking forward to this weekend? Any we haven't really gotten on one of our patented tangents the
Hmm.
last couple of weeks. Any TV shows or movies that are coming out, or
Hmm.
did you see I saw the Bruce Springsteen movie last week,
Oh,
Delivery
how was
Game
that?
from Nowhere. I thought that was interesting. I thought what's his name? Jeremy Allen White, is that his name? Did a
Yep.
good job as Bruce. It was an interesting movie because it wasn't really a traditional biopic. It was very like a small slice of life. Um, Bruce Springsteen pick, so it only covered about 6 months of his career basically while
Isn't
he
it
was.
about the production of one album? Isn't that what
Yeah, the
the
album Nebraska, yeah, which is not one of his most popular albums, but it was the album he made that was kind of one of his most personal and dark. albums, but they do also talk a little bit about Born in the USA and stuff like that. But uh,
Hmm.
it was interesting. I think it was an interesting movie. Um,
Hmm.
uh, Also kind of highlighted Springsteen's struggles with mental health and things like that. So that was maybe a positive message as well. But
Well, cool.
it was, yeah, I thought it was a good movie. Um, and the performances I thought were pretty good as well. So wasn't like the greatest movie ever. You kind of compare it to the Dylan biopic from last year, a little bit somewhat similar in ways, but I thought, yeah, I thought it was interesting. Good movie. So I'd recommend that. I don't know what's coming out in November. A lot of kids movies and things like that, but
Hmm.
like Zootopia 2, I'm looking forward to it, and my daughter is looking forward to that one. Um, but we can talk about more stuff like that next week. Or so maybe we can think of maybe we'll come back and have uh, tangential more tangential discussions next week. But I think is there anything else we want to cover this week?
Well, maybe one show I'll ask you about just in case you've seen it too, because I know you were a fan of Fargo,
I am.
right?
Yeah, it's one of the best shows I've
Now
seen.
the writer, director, creator of the Fargo series did a sci-fi series recently. Did you watch the Alien Earth series, Mike?
No, I haven't even heard of that show actually.
It
Alien.
was an FX show. I just finished it actually, but it's shot very similar to like how Fargo is, although the storylines have absolutely nothing
A Noah Hawley.
in tangent to like Fargo do, but it looks very similar to how like the filmmaking is made anyway.
Hmm.
So like if you like filmmaking but would like to see how that applies to a completely different genre of show,
That might be
uh,
interesting. It's set in the
give
alien.
Alien Earth a try. It's a very very different show though. So
It's set in the alien universe.
yep.
So
Yes.
reading
So
about.
it's if you like sort of the Alien movies,
I was never
uh,
a huge fan of those, but
yeah, some of them are better than others.
mhm,
The earlier ones are probably the best in the series.
yeah.
It gets pretty crazy as it goes on. But
Well,
anyway, but it's a different, it's not the same creative group behind it anyway, because this is a Noah Hawley production.
Noah
So
Hawley, yeah.
yeah, I've seen a couple of his series, and they're like really pretty good to watch. So he did a Marvel TV series, Legion, that has a lot of uh it really interesting scenes in it anyway. It's like a dealing with a lot of like you were mentioning with the Bruce Springsteen movie, some like mental health issues, but
Hmm.
with like superheroes. So uh yeah, it's leads to some crazy scenes in a very cinematic way. So it was also a very good show, but very different than Fargo and also Alien Earth. So he's a pretty good filmmaker. So if you're
Yeah.
looking for something different, then worth checking out.
Okay. Well, those are recommendations from us here at the Power Hour. So we have Bruce Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere, and Alien Earth as the recommendations for this week. So,
Basically the same thing. So I mean, watch them both.
mm, yes. Well, I think that's going to be it for this week's edition of the Warden Trek Power Hour. Uh, as always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Warning Trek Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel and or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms, including the one that you use. Um, so we thank you and appreciate your listenership, your viewership. So we'll hope to see you again next week when we review Week 10 and preview Week 11 in the NFL. We'll also maybe talk about some other sports issues as well. We're getting into college basketball season. The NBA and the NHL are going strong at this point. Um, yeah, so or maybe we'll just be an all football episode of the Power Hour. We'll see how that shapes up Next week, you never know. Maybe again we'll go off into our entertainment section next week as well. So we have
We're
all
due
this.
for that.
We don't, yeah, we are a little bit due for something like that. So you never know what we're going to do here at the Power Hour. So that's one of the uh, highlights, I guess. It's the unpredictability as well as the extreme predictability of the Power Hour. Hope the unpredictability. Hopefully, we will buck the trend of our terrible locks of the week and start a new trend of correct picks. So we wish you guys the best of luck in making your picks, as long as your interests do not conflict with ours. So don't stop just picking the opposite, since especially since you're doing so well at our expense. Maybe this week will be your comeuppance. You you know to the neghead uh, uh, reverse uh, pickers.
Is it becoming combative? It's us
Yeah.
versus them now, Mike. Is that what it is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of enemies out, just the contrarian
Yeah.
power. The contrarian.
Anti-power.
Yeah, the anti-power hour picks, whatever the antimatter uh picks. But we have all that to look forward to next week. Uh, and until next time, we'll wish you a good day here from the Power Hour.